On tonight's episode of The Finish Line, we will recap day one of Miami Dolphins training camp as the official Tua Tagovailoa hold-in begins. It gets underway. We'll talk about everything McDaniel said. We'll talk about everything that went down at camp because guess what? Defense dominated the day. So let's get into it. Smash the like button and let's subscribe if you're new.
Touchdown! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open, touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again! Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached a great offensive lineman in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. Ballgame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one as training camp. The practices are officially underway. Gentlemen, we made it through the lull. Oh my God, it seemed like there was no end in sight. And we were talking about the same, this Tua stuff. Thank God he gave us something to talk about. But still, at the end of the day, we're still going to talk about Tua, but at least we got practice to talk about now, gentlemen. And I was talking to you, Richmond, before we went live, and asking you if you missed this time of the year. And you said, yeah, when you first get there and you meet up with your boys, yeah, it's good. But then after a couple of days of hitting the same guys, it becomes a little redundant. So how you feeling that we got through the real redundance that was the lull between mini camp and where we're at now?
Hey, gentlemen, how y'all doing? My Dolphin family that's listening in, yeah. You're right. I think everybody's excited. I think the fans are excited. I think the players are excited. It's just, day one seems like it's always special because everybody comes in. Especially this is the day that the veterans reported. So, rookies sometimes come in maybe a day or two early, this and that. But just to get back out there and get in the scheme of things, it's always exciting. And the downtime is over. And I think that's what everybody's been looking for. And like you said, we made it through that dead zone. But, man, I'm definitely happy we're here now. So I think everybody is excited, looking forward to it. Definitely have some stuff to talk about on the show. And I'm just elated.
Coach AJ wants to know who had a tougher camp, Shula or Jimmy Johnson?
I would probably say Shula. Both of them was tough, but I think with once I was there with Shula, for a few, I knew what to expect. With Jimmy, he came in and he cut some guys that you thought he wouldn't cut, so it kind of shook everybody up. So it was kind of that unknown. I could be working my tail off, and this guy could make an example out of me. So, and I wasn't a Jimmy Johnson guy. So his first class was, I think Darryl Gardner was the first pick, and Zach was in that first class, and all those guys. When you're not that coach's guy, he doesn't always have.
It's a real thing, eh? That's a real thing, eh?
Real thing.
And it don't matter how good you are. Like, you were one of the best left tackles of the 90s, and that didn't matter because you weren't his pick, right?
Right. And then the other thing you look at too, reason if you kind of know Jimmy Johnson's history, he would take a player and trade him if he could get a lot of value, multiple draft picks, all that. So, you just never know what he's thinking. But, I just came to work every day and just worked as hard as I could and focused on what I did. And, I stayed there. But it was definitely some tough practices with both. But I'd probably say Jimmy, just because of the mindset, I had more of a mental thing to say, okay, I know what this guy is thinking. I don't know if he wants me here or not. So I think that made it a little tougher for me.
Very, very interesting. I mean, great question by AJ. Fantastic question by AJ. Ballgame. How are you feeling, bro? Did you end up touching that? Did you end up touching that? The college football 25 or no?
No, you know what? To be honest with you, man, after the Madden season finished up, man, I took this time to really just, kick back and enjoy my granddaughter and actually do some stuff that I probably wouldn't have done. That Madden, when you deep dive, when you do a deep dive into the game and stuff of that nature.
Your audio.
How much time?
Yeah, you're good now. You're good now.
So
You're good now. You're good now.
Yeah,
you're good now. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even realize kind of how much time, you're actually putting into it. I was in like 3 or 4 different franchises, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
all in all, it kind of took away from a lot of what I had going on personally. So,
what is Ballgame is all over the place
right now. Yeah, somebody calling me, man.
Yeah,
calling me. Send me the link so I can pull it up on my computer.
Okay, I'll send it to you through.
And I'll switch over. Yeah. When it's all said and done, though, man, this is the best time of the year, man. These boys back out there getting at it. You know what I'm saying? We get to be, locked in again. You know what I'm saying? Through that dry spell of no information and this, that, and the third. So I'm excited, man. We're gonna take my sons down for a couple, couple games this year, and we'll go see some of these practices and things of that nature. So it's gonna be I think it'll be a really good time, man. I'm excited, because without football, man, I kind of lose my mind, bro.
Do you need me to email you the link? Or do you need me to email you?
Yeah, email it to me. Okay. Yeah, email it. Okay. Yeah, easier that way.
Yeah, because you're going down for the practice in the stadium, right?
Yep. I will definitely be there with my boys. Kevin and Isaiah will be there for that. And then we'll try to get back, like you said. You just said we can get to the joint practice with them. I'll try to do that with you. If we can coordinate that, and then the Raiders game, a couple other games too. We got slated that we had circled. So, yeah.
What's your
Monster?
Oh yeah. Okay, that's all you need to say. Don't worry, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm sending it now. So, I mean, listen, we're gonna get into it in depth here, but the word out of town is that the defense dominated the day. Richmond, you said that's to be expected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Typically, when you start practice, I can remember it didn't matter if it was high school, college, professional, defense always seemed like it's ahead of the offense for some reason. And then after a few days, the offense catches up. But it seemed like the first practice or whatever, the defense normally dominates unless you just don't have a really good defense. But I just kind of can't expect. And then, you kind of pissed off because you got a competitive spirit and, you don't want to get dominated. But the first day or so, they would get us. And then after a couple of days, we kind of get our stuff together and get in sync. And then, we would get them back. But I wasn't surprised when you said that, but I think that's good for the D coordinator, to get off to a good start like that. I think that should should make the fans feel good that, hey, they really came out and looked good. But, I think the fans also know the potency or the potential of our offense. So we got some real battles out there, going back and forth. So I think that's the thing that's going to be fun for the fans, everything. Yeah, I think everybody's looking forward to that.
All right, let's get into this. Check your email, Ballgame. I sent that to you, all right? So go check your email. I sent that your way.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into this. First of all, for all of you who haven't had a chance to see it, here are all the highlights from today. And there's going to be something you may notice when you look at the highlights. First things first, Jordan Brooks wearing the orange jersey. First guy wearing the orange jersey. Jalen Wright out here catching some balls. Jody Fortson, who could, explode and be one to watch this season. But what's interesting here, and we're going to get into it in a second here, it's only about 2 minutes worth of clips. Don't worry, as fans get more access, so well, these clips will extend. You know what I mean? Some days last year during training camp, we had like 10 minutes worth of training camp footage. It was ridiculous. But Ogba's changed his number. Ogba, it looks like he's no longer 91. We'll see that. Here's Patrick McMorris, the rookie safety. Look at Ogba. He's 51 now. He took over David Long's number because David Long switched to 11, right? Ethan Bonner out here doing the damn thing. River Craycraft. Remember, Tajay Washington was put on the reserve injured list. He's going to miss the whole season. So there you go. A-Chan and the running backs catching some footballs as well. Just not the same without, there's Calais. There is Calais, the beast. Here's Tua throwing some balls today. Now, Tua he participated in some 11-11 work, but it was in terms of handing footballs off. He wasn't throwing footballs, but he did 7-on-7 work. And we'll get deeper into that as we get into what McDaniel says here. But the hold-in officially basically started today. There's Coach Mickey D. Cheetah. Those Guardian helmets are different, eh? Javon Holland today had a collision, and he flipped over with Malik Washington. They collided over a football. Jalen Ramsey said that Javon Holland is okay, though, today, so there you go. I want to know who's busting out the mace on the playlist.
Right?
Jordan Brooks is killing it with the playlist. Busting out, late 90s mace. Love it. Jalen Phillips putting in that work. He's going to be back for September. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. Sierra Neal with a big breakup. And Tua to Tyreek. Boom. So there you go. Those were the highlights basically from training camp today. But let's get into everything.
I'm backstage.
There you go. Let's get into everything in terms of what McDaniel said, and then we'll get into into the nitty-gritty of reviewing training camp and recapping the day. So Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel said Wednesday that Tua Tagovailoa's plan for training camp is very fluid amid ongoing contract talks, and suggested his quarterback wasn't planning to participate in 11-11 drills on the first day of camp. He said, quote, "Today I'm expecting it to be kind of like OTAs, and we'll take it from there." Tua is in the midst of contract negotiations. Tua Tagovailoa sat out 11-11 drills in the spring. As it turned out, Tagovailoa took 2 snaps in 11-11 drills on Wednesday, but both were handoffs. He made a few nice passes and 7-on-7 work, but also had a pass intercepted by Zeke Vandenberg after tight end Tanner Connor bobbled it. So you got the tight end room, up here hyping up Tanner Connor heading into camp, and that's not a good start, especially in 7-on-7s. Tagovailoa is seeking a lucrative contract extension, similar to one that several top quarterbacks have received over the past few years. He's due to make $23.1 million on a 5th-year option this season. That could be replaced by a multi-year contract if the sides reach a deal. Both sides are relentlessly working on it, McDaniel said in the negotiation. Those things take time. Asked what he would say to Tagovailoa if he asked McDaniel to get paid and whether it means the organization is hedging on his future, McDaniel said he doubts Tagovailoa would ask him that. I'm not involved in those things, McDaniel said. I know where my place is in my relationship with him. My job is to focus on him getting better solely. I'm comfortable in my relationship with Tua. He can separate the business relationship. He knows our focus has to be on what it looks like when he's playing football. Would McDaniel ever ask Chris Grier to get a deal done? And he said, quote, everyone realizes the importance to everyone. I don't need to remind anyone of that, McDaniel said. Everyone is trying to that's his nice way of saying no until I have to. That's he's basically saying, because he didn't say no, right? All of a sudden it went from a couple weeks ago, yeah, I won't really get involved, to everyone knows the importance to everyone, and I shouldn't have to tell him that. Some other notes: he declined to offer a timeline on returns for Phillips and Chubb. Both began camp on the active, physically unable to perform list. They can participate in meetings but cannot practice while on the list. He said, I'm a stickler with no timelines, not just to annoy you guys. I think he learned his lesson with Byron Jones early on, right? Adding, he wants them to listen to their bodies so we can actively prevent reoccurring injuries. We know what they want to be on the field as fast as possible. Odell Beckham Jr. beginning the camp on PUP. McDaniel said he's working his way back. It's so important for him to come into this team and offense. He's able to focus on timing and execution of how he plays the position. If he's compromised in any regard to do that, then the challenge becomes cerebral. When he's going to practice, I don't know. The longer that is, that means how much more you have to be on it. The shorter that time gets. David Long, he began the camp on PUP. McDaniel said that's a stacked position, and he has no idea how the depth chart will play out. On Shaq Barrett's retirement, he said he wasn't forecasting it, but you talk to him and understand and are completely in support. Jordan Poyer said Tuesday that playing against this team over the past few years, you get a sense of, okay, if you get on top of this team, they might fold. McDaniel offered this response when asked about those comments. It's not really a big deal that he said that. Doesn't surprise me. We are in a business that's very cut and dried. You either find success or reasons for failure. Jordan Poyer is here because of the player he is and the leader he is. He recognizes the leadership opportunity he has here. The past doesn't predict the future. For Jordan Poyer to talk to his teammates and the same thing he says in the media, it's important to understand that when you don't win football games down the stretch, those things, I don't know what it'll look like, but like it will be what he said. He said Tyreek Hill hasn't conveyed to him what Hill expressed at his media availability, that Hill isn't going to publicly express a goal for 2,000 receiving yards in a season, again, because Hill views that as selfish. He said, quote, if he were to express it to me, I'd be like, dude, you're just a competitor. We win a lot of games when we reach whatever numbers. As he evolves as a man, it's cool to hear that. It's his viewpoint. Terron Armstead and how he'll be handled in training camp to make sure he's involved to the point he feels outstanding. There will be days of full participation, days of partial, and it makes sense for young guys to get opportunities. He's in a great place, healthy as ever. He's really spry. Gotta love when you use the word spry. Fantastic stuff. Okay. All right. So let's start off here. I want to hear you guys' viewpoint on two things that we take away from what McDaniel was saying. Number one, Tua Tagovailoa. I want to get your guys' thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa officially starting his hold on. And do you feel this puts pressure, his hold in, sorry. Do you feel this puts pressure on the Miami Dolphins? And number two, don't you guys find it very interesting what Jordan Poyer said that, you know, when he was with the Bills, we knew if we get on top of this team, they could fold. You know, as a player, as a former coach, how would you guys take that, hearing that about your own team from some guy who just came in, even if it is the truth? You know, Ballgame, will start with you because that's a safety saying that. And then I want to get your thoughts on the hold in and if this is starting to put pressure on the Dolphins now that this is a reality and could hold up the offense in camp.
Well, I think across the board, the message needs to be the truth of the truth, regardless of how you're receiving it. And oftentimes in football, at the end of the day, if a team just feels like they can dominate you and they've done successfully over a couple seasons, that they get a sense of understanding who you are. It's your position. It's your responsibility to change that narrative. And until you do something about it, the narrative is the narrative. Now, Jordan Poyer being 100% candid and honest, I can respect that because he's a guy that's been around long enough to have endured and went through and put themselves in position to say that about this team. And him coming to join us, you know, that says that he sees there's a possibility for us to be possibly better than where he's coming from. But we got to prove that we're willing to get into, you know what I'm saying, get into what's some things called, man, phone booth with somebody and not be concerned about it, you know what I'm saying, and go in there and handle your business and walk out accordingly, you know what I mean? But if you don't do that, then you don't change the narrative. And I don't have a problem with him saying that at all, because this team, as we've all said over the course of time, they got to get tougher. They got to be tougher. Football is a physical sport. And if, whether you prove it on the field, I'm saying, it's one thing to talk it, but if your actions on the field don't prove that you're willing to go to the next level, to punch somebody in the mouth and consistently keep your foot on their throat for 4 quarters, then, the narrative is indeed true. And the only way you change the narrative is to go out and do something differently. In regards to what was the other question?
Jordan Poyer saying that, this is a team that we knew basically in Buffalo that if we got on top of them, they'll fold.
No, that I just said that. What was the other question?
The other question, it was about Tua and his holdout, and what do you think about it?
So for me, I look at this differently.
Or hold-in, sorry.
I look at it. If he showed up, then he's honoring what he's supposed to do contractually, which tells me that he's a man's man and he's a pro about the situation. The business is always going to be the business, so he's letting his agent handle that. I do understand how crazy this whole situation could be, because in that class of quarterbacks that came out with him, in my opinion, he's proven to be the best of the class. And in reference to that, with Jordan Love having the same representation, I think it's in his best interest to not sign early and let things be figured out. You feel me? Because if Love gets a deal that is more money than the Dolphins are willing to pay Tua, then that creates an even bigger issue. And I think in terms of Love's deal has to get done so they can actually have a realistic understanding of where he could be placed. Right? And him holding out for that, or his agent possibly holding out for Love's deal to get done, I think bodes well for both sides, because then the Dolphins can make an honest assessment of do we transition tag him next year or do something different, right? They got a lot of different things that they can do as well. But he's under contract this year. Let it ride. Figure it out maybe in the season after Love's deal get done, or if Love's deal get done sooner, then they can start the real negotiations. But for me, the fact that he showed up instead of sitting at home on his couch and saying, I'm not going to come at all, tells me that his focus is on what he's being paid to do right now, which is get the job done as our quarterback. So,
yeah. Where are you at, Richmond? What do you think about? I mean, how would you feel about a team coming from a player coming from a division rival to your team, and basically, in so many words, calling you guys soft when the chips get down, but then, and on the flip side, you dealt with Dan Marino getting paid the way he did. How would you feel about your starting quarterback holding in at training camp? Because, Ballgame, made a point. It's about being professional, but we all know it's all about also not losing those $50,000 a day too.
Yeah. Like you said, I think Tua, just the way since he came into the league, he's been a professional. The way he carries himself, he's never been that player that it's about me. He's not an individual that seems like he's concerned about himself, but at the same time, he does know that, he's been able to separate the business from football and this and that. And so I'm happy to see him go out and perform. But you're right. Nobody wants to give back. I don't believe in giving back money. So especially they're only going one a day anyway. So, and he's getting limited practices, but I think it's good for team morale and everything that he's there, and it sends a message to other guys that when their contract is coming up and they still have a year left, hey, this is how you handle it. If it works out, fine. If it doesn't, hey, you're a man and, you handle it the correct way. But I think this deal does get done. I was thinking about when Ballgame was talking that Jordan Love and Tua had the same representation. And, everybody's saying, well, Jordan Love needs to get done first. And then Tua gets more money than Jordan. And I'm like, if that's my same agent, I'm like, well, what's up, bro? You know what I'm saying? I don't know how. I don't think Jordan Love, even though Tua probably has better numbers, I don't think he looks at it and say, well, you got that for him. That could be an issue. I don't know. I'm just kind of, speculating when you got two guys at the same position, starting quarterbacks, and both of them are really good quarterbacks up in the league. But that's a problem for their agency. But I think the Dolphins know that. I think the Dolphins can appreciate that he's here, he's working, he's there with the team, getting ready for this season, this and that. So it's all positive. I think it puts more pressure on the Dolphins because He's not sitting out where fans can say, oh, he just pouting. He's already making 20-something million this year. If he can just come in, they can't use that argument against Tua because he's there. Where now they say, okay, this guy's done everything he's supposed to do. Dolphins, y'all need to do right by them. So I think it puts more pressure on the organization to say, hey, we need to get this deal done because of how the fans and stuff look and say, no, this guy did the right way. He didn't, he wasn't out pouting and he didn't trash the organization, and he kept everything positive. And as far as the come from a guy coming from the rivalry, that doesn't surprise me. And I think especially the second half of the season, if you studied the film and stuff like that, there were games that we were in the game and then we couldn't finish games. But he said if you get on top of him, but he wasn't saying that, I guess, when we were playing with that third string quarterback up there, and we almost pulled the win out. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't hold it against him, but I expect that, because he just came from there. But it was the same way last year when we played Baltimore. The year before we played them and we made that comeback, and I think in the back of their mind was we damn sure not gonna let them do what they did to us the year before. So it ain't like teams remember when you hand them an L, especially when they thought they should have possibly won the game. So it's just the competitive spirit, this and that. I'm glad he's here with us, but I want him to have that same type of attitude and intensity when we go play Buffalo. If we get on top of them, they'll fold too. So
yeah. Make them fold, right?
Yeah.
So let's get in. Let's review camp and everything that went down today. All right. So let's start off. We'll start off with the Miami Herald and their report of the observations that went on at camp. So notes and nuggets from the Dolphins' first training camp session on Wednesday. Tua Tagovailoa was limiting his practice participation amid ongoing contract negotiations. Participated in 2 plays, 11 work, and both were handoffs. Mike McDaniel indicated before practice that he expected Tagovailoa's participation in Wednesday's first camp session to be similar to what he did in the offseason program when he did not participate in 11-11 drills because of talks. Tua wants a lucrative deal to replace his 5th-year option, which will pay him $23.1 million this season. McDaniel said the situation is fluid. Tagovailoa worked in 7-on-7 drills. His first completion went to Tyreek Hill. He also made a nice sideline throw to Eric Ezekiel. Second-year edge linebacker Zeke Vandenberg, who missed his rookie season with an injury, intercepted Tagovailoa's pass to tight end Tanner Connor, but that wasn't Tagovailoa's fault. The ball was bobbled by Connor and deflected into the air. The defense dominated the practice, which featured more than desired work from number 4 quarterback Gavin Hardison, who doesn't seem to have a good mastery of the offense. After practice, offensive line coach Butch Barry verbally reprimanded his players. Some defensive notes: Javon Holland missed some reps and was attended to by the trainers after collision with Malik Washington. But if Holland was hurt, it didn't appear serious. Marcus May, signed in May, dropped an interception from undrafted UTEP rookie quarterback Hardison. My boy that I said is going to make this team, Grayson Murphy, had a sack of Hardison on what seemed to be a botch handoff. Quentin Bell had a nice deflection at the line of scrimmage. Second-year defensive tackle Brandon Pilley appeared to sack Hardison, but Hardison scrambled around through a pass that Jordan Poyer intercepted anyways. Former Bills cornerback Ciaran Neal, who will be a core special teams player for Miami, picked off Hardison on the next play. Not a good day for Gavin Hardison and his hopes to unseat Skylar Thompson. Poyer made contact with Jalen Waddle on a pass from Mike White. Kendall Fuller deflected a pass to Hill in 11-11s. Emmanuel Ogbah had a sack of White in 11-11s. So Ogbah already getting it in, his right back into the mix. Some offensive notes: Skylar Thompson delivered a nice slant to Hill for first down. Achane had a nifty run to the left side. He weaved through the interior defensive line. Waddle and Hill both had good days catching passes. River Craycraft caught a slant from Hardison to end practice. Ogbah, who's working with edge players and not defensive linemen after signing with Miami on Tuesday, looks a little heavier than normal, but what can we realistically expect from someone who didn't have a team until 2 days ago, and he had a sack on the first day of practice? Even though McDaniel said Armstead is in phenomenal shape and healthy, the Dolphins starting left tackle wasn't on the field for the first practice. Kendall Lamb and Patrick Paul will likely handle the left tackle workload until Armstead is taken out of the bubble wrap. Calais Campbell is massive, but his movement is slow. We're not sure if he's pacing himself or showing his age. Anthony Weaver spent the individual periods of practice with edge rushers and gave first-round pick Chop Robinson some pointers on his technique. And Javon Holland did a somersault covering a Tua Tagovailoa pass to Malik Washington, got banged up a little, but gave the team a thumbs up. All right, so let's talk about this. I mean, it was clearly evident. That the offensive line struggled today. If Butch Barry is out here reprimanding the offensive line. Now, Teron Armstead's out. Isaiah Wynn is on PUP right now. So those need to be taken into context here. So, notice how they're not telling us exactly what the interior looks were because they really can't right now. Richmond, let's start with you. Is that a good start to camp when on day one, Marcel Louis-Jacques even tweeted out about how Marcel Louis-Jacques' exact quote was, Butch Barry chewed out the offensive line. So it was clearly obvious and evident to everyone that Butch Barry was not a happy camper as a former offensive lineman, with all of us fans and people who cover this team having concerns about where the offensive line is. This is not a very good start, Richmond, no?
No, it ain't. And we all know the game is won in the trenches up front. I know they didn't have pads on today and stuff like that, but whatever it was unacceptable, and it wasn't to the standards that Butch Barry expects from his players or the offensive line unit. Not only players, but coaches are competitive too. And, I can remember in times when we would be going offense versus defense, the coaches sometimes exchange words because everybody has that competitive nature. So he probably chewed them out. They don't do 2 days, but I guarantee after he let them up, I'm expecting them to come out and play better than what they did. If they were just flat or whatever, but when you were reading the comments, I kept saying sack, and I'm like, yeah, no, coach ain't with that because they writing the stats down and this and that, and I'm like, yeah, Teron might be out, Wynn might be out, but just because they're out, you got to step up and you got to play, and this is not the way we play football here. So I think he wanted to deliver that message right now up front to the guys that may not have been here or what his expectations are. So he's not going to give you a hall pass and say, oh, you weren't here last year or you don't know. No, this is the way we're doing it. This is for real. If you expect to be on this team, you better step your game up. If not, we'll get somebody else in here. So I think if the reporter said he was chewing them out, I'm sure he gave them a piece of their mind. And you can tell by probably his body language when he's talking to him that he wasn't happy. And it was probably needed. So that sounds good to me. I've been chewed out. We've been chewed out before. It makes you want to, get your head out your butt and just, hey, it's time to go to work. So, yeah, I like it.
Ballgame, how do you take that with, in that little, those observations? Calais Campbell looks slow and heavy. And, Ogba, how do you take that? Yeah, he looks, he looked a little out of shape, but he's still out there making plays. And that tells you, well, what's he going to be at like when he's in game shape? Well, what were your takeaways from what you read there about the defense? And they were picking off Gavin Hardison, it seemed, at will today too.
Well, I expect them to eat off of a guy that's coming in with a whole lot of pressure on him to try to make the roster. And he, depending on how much time he's had to actually understand the playbook and all that stuff, he's sitting up. So I'm not gonna really give him too many, too many checks in the box for him. But in terms of the battles that are going on in the trenches, kudos to the defense, because I think across the board, right, this feeds into what we talk about. If you start fast and strong, you finish fast and strong. And that's a message that Butch is trying to get to his guys. Probably with him chewing their asses is that, listen, man, there's words out there. And what Jordan Poyer said, he said it, we got to get past that. And the way we get past that is by showing up every day prepared to work. And we kick ass. Really what it comes down to, for no other way to say it. That's probably what he told them. I don't need y'all out here. If y'all minds or anywhere else, then go walk, do whatever you got to do. But when you show up out here, show up ready to bang and be productive, right? We got to win these battles. Just because we don't have pads on, y'all can't grab and hold and all this other foolishness don't mean that you can't dominate the man in front of you. Because they're teeing off on y'all right now. So y'all gonna either be grown ass men or you're gonna be a bunch of punks up front. And I don't need the latter. I need grown men here willing, ready to go to war. That all y'all got is y'all selves up here. You know what I mean? And I guarantee you, to some degree, that's probably what he was telling them, which is much needed because if you think about it, most of these guys been sitting at the house chilling. They've been doing their own little workout regimens and all that stuff. But mentally, you need your coach to be the guy that sets the tone. And I'm glad that he did that. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm hoping that tomorrow and every day after this, the tone is set so that's something he doesn't have to revisit, because if it becomes a situation where that's something that he's talking about consistently and motivating them, then you have to really ask yourself, and you have to ask these guys and take them into the room and be like, do you really want to be here? Because if not, then you can go ahead and pack your shit and get up out of here. Because I ain't got time for this, right? We got a lot to accomplish. And we need to be dominating our guys here as well. Because they need quality work as well. If we're not going to stand up and be actively engaged in the process of both iron sharpening iron, then I can get you gone. I can go ahead and send you back to the girl that you're missing right now. Whatever you got going on that's not giving me the best effort you can give me.
Yeah.
Simple and plain. And so, hey, kudos to Butch. He's a man after my heart, because that's exactly the message I would have given if my guys didn't show up and perform. It is what it is, bro. You're getting paid now. You get paid to go do this job. So you show up half-assed to any job in America, and you're not getting the product, and the boss is not getting the productivity that he want. What are he gonna do to you?
Yeah, you're gonna get, at minimum, you get called into the office.
Called into the office. So
like you're back in high school, right?
Yep.
We know what time it is. Okay, so let's get into the second portion here. This is from the Sun Sentinel, and gentlemen, this starts off very interesting. Listen to what he says. See, this is why you got to read different articles, because guys say different things. And this is from Chris Perkins, okay? And this is going to get Ballgame's juices flowing, because I know it's getting my juices flowing reading this. So check this one out, gentlemen. All right? The defensive no worries. Basically, the defensive mechanisms by coordinator Anthony Weaver were exciting on Wednesday. As promised, cornerback Jalen Ramsey was used as a chess piece. We can't disclose details, but Weaver is living up to his promise of a diverse defense. Here are some more observations. The offense was decent, with most of the work in 11-11s being held down by backup quarterbacks Mike White, Skylar Thompson, and Gavin Hardison. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waller were good in limited work. The defense was solid in the front and the back. The pass rush was capable, especially late in practice, while the secondary was active throughout practice. Javon Holland was upended by rookie Malik Washington, who unintentionally chopped out Holland's legs, sending him airborne on the second play of 7-on-7. Holland stayed on the ground briefly, then sat up, went to the sideline briefly, and returned for the next play. After that, Holland returned to the sideline and was getting treatment by team personnel on his lower body. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Cam Good worked on the sideline. Taron Armstead rode the stationary bike late in practice and eventually walked to the sideline with his teammates. Chris Brooks was not spotted at Wednesday's practice. Everyone else was present. Jordan Brooks wore the orange jersey, signifying the player of the day from the previous gathering. Brooks was in charge of the playlist for practice and was pretty good. He was also active during practice. Tagovailoa hit Hill on a short pass on the first play of 7-on-7. He had a pass tip and intercepted in 7-on-7. Sear Neal is the one who actually broke up the pass, and Zeke Vandenberg picked it up. Marcus May dropped a potential interception thrown by Hardison. The deep throw was into double or triple coverage, and May was tracking it the entire time. Look at this. Jack Driscoll was at center. They're still continuing to cross-train Jack Driscoll at center. Center Jack Driscoll had a fumble exchange with Thompson. There you go. There's another thing we didn't hear in the other one. QBs were wearing their helmet cameras once again. Jordan Poyer had a small collision with Waddle on a 15-yard reception over the middle. Waddle held on to it. Deshaun Hand deflected a short pass by White. Brandon Pilley had a decent day, had a sack on a play that was allowed to continue after the sack. Poyer ended up making the interception anyways. On the next play, Hardison threw an interception to Sear Neal on another apparent sack, but the play was allowed to continue. Quentin Bell had an apparent sack on White against Kendall Lamb. So even Lamb was struggling against Quentin Bell today. But Zach Sealer may have had a sack from the inside as he continued to get consistent pressure. Overall, the pass rush was pretty good, especially late in practice. Poyer was frequently spotted on the sideline giving tips to coaches and teammates. It seems as though his leadership gene is in midseason form. Stock up Emmanuel Ogbah. He had a strong showing late in practice, consistently putting pressure on the QBs. Granted, Ogbah wasn't always going against the starting right tackle, but he did good work. And that's promising considering he may get lots of work early in the season. Stock down, Gavin Hardison seemed to struggle with a couple of plays, and you could argue the near interception thrown to May into triple or double coverage was ill-advised and hung in the air too long. No biggie. It's his first practice as a rookie. Okay. We're going to get to ball game after you, Richmond. Richmond, your thoughts of them. I mean, this is kind of, like my nerves are almost shot here. This is exactly what we kind of worried about. They don't have a lot of depth at center. So a guy like Jack Driscoll, who's a career right side player, is now having to take cross-training snaps at center instead of them just going out and finding a veteran to back up Aaron Brewer. Your thoughts on this? Because this does not sit well with me, brother.
No, it doesn't. I don't know if Butch Barry's had that conversation with Jack to see if they want to work him in. I guess the only thing I can say is still early in camp. If it looked like it's going to be a serious injury, I don't know a serious problem, maybe you can still go out and sign a guy that has actually experience at center. I don't know who's out there. I'd have to check the waiver or who's
there's experienced guys out there for sure. There's guys out there.
So it's like this could be an experiment, and if it's not working out, I expect Butch Barry say, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable with this. We really don't have a backup at center." That's a conversation with Mike McDaniel and also Chris Greer. Hey, we might need to go get somebody. And then it's Chris Greer's job to go and find somebody. But I don't think this needs to be a long decision. If it's not going to work out, you only got 3 preseason games. So if it's going to happen, it's got to happen pretty quick. And you only do 1 a days now. So it's not like you're getting 2 days where you're getting a bunch of reps in training camp. It's different now. So, and we knew that was the issue, I think, when Eichenberg had to come in and, he struggled with some of the shotgun snaps and this and that, and not beating up on him because he probably hadn't taken that many snaps during the game. But there's something you can't afford to have because that'll throw everything off with the offense. You got to have a good quarterback center exchange consistently. That could be a disaster. Turnovers, everything, swing momentum and everything. So that is my concern, but I agree with you, Reason. I think this is an experiment, but if it ain't working, we need to fix it quick.
Now, what are your thoughts on before Ballgame gets back here? What are your thoughts on the whole thing that Perk said at the beginning of that? Basically, that you were seeing, Jalen Ramsey used in different. Basically, they were living up to the whole hybrid, interchangeable defense. Does that get you exciting that not only were we getting results in day one in terms of the defense looking really good, but also how they were starting to use that secondary? Yeah,
I think that's always a good thing because he might be a corner, he might be a safety, and not just one game, but it's not like you say, okay, game he's gonna play corner, this game he's gonna play safety, but he really welcomed some of those young quarterbacks to the league. So I saw an article where, he was jumping routes and this and that. He's just, when you're one of the best in the games, you know how to do it. And that's a mental adjustment for a young guy coming in that you think a guy's open and then this guy just jumps him in. It's different when you get to the NFL. Especially because guys are so much better. A lot of time in college, you might have a really good football team, but every team you play in college doesn't have a Jalen Ramsey caliber type players consistently. So it was a rude awakening for these young quarterbacks and stuff like that. But it's definitely when you have a guy with that skill set that can interchange flip flops, and I think you always put him in the best position to make plays, and he's a playmaker. So I'm excited. I know Ballgame don't really add to it because that's his thing. But yeah, when you got a guy like that, let him eat, and I'm sure he's Jalen is happy about that as well. So yeah, that sounds definitely good to me.
Ballgame, what do you think about that? Day one, you already got reporters saying that they were seeing how Weaver was using Jalen Ramsey like a chess piece, and basically how the looks that Weaver was giving them is already exciting, and it's only day one.
I think when you think about the versatility of the guys that we have in this secondary, even May, who didn't, I think the Jets misused him quite a bit, and didn't play him in any of the spots that I thought he would have been most successful for them. Bringing a guy like Marcus May in, and then you got Holland, who can play either side, either strong or free, and then you got Jalen, who was used to be a safety, who now is a corner, still has all of those abilities and intangibles to be able to match up and do all these different things. That just gives Weaver so many different looks that really, to a young quarterback who's really has no idea what he's really looking at, that's going to confuse him. And there's a lot of pros in the NFL that's going to have to hold the ball a little bit longer too, to figure out who's who and where's where. And, when you got Poyer, May, and Holland, who you can employ on the field with the Ramsey and Fuller, and what can be considered like a big nickel package, we got 3 safeties in there as well. That's going to cause a lot of problems for people. And then, I heard the comments about Calais Campbell and whatnot. Calais Campbell's a true professional, so he always comes in heavy. But, by week 3, week 4, you get your money's worth the rest of the season from him. And, Agba, who probably didn't even think he was going to get picked up by anybody, got the call. So the fact that he's out there and he got a sack on the day, it wasn't against the top right tackle, but it's still against an NFL professional. He just came off the couch 2 days ago. That tells me that the guy's still hungry and still wants to prove something. So I'm okay with all of that. I'm really excited to see what Weaver does with the secondary, though, because I think he can be really intricate, man, and really mind-boggling with some of the coverages that he can come up with the, like I said, with the athleticism and versatility of the guys that we have back there. And, we ain't even talking about Cam and how he's going to employ Cam. You know what I'm saying? All these guys have exceptional range. You know what I'm saying? They got huge frames. You know what I'm saying? So, it's going to be real interesting, man. I'm excited, bro. Like, overwhelmingly excited with the possibilities. A lot more so with Fangio with the matchup scheme, because now this scheme is going to play to their versatility,
So I'll just read this off, because this was another thing just from Adam Beasley. He only really had 6 points we're talking about in his thing. So I'll let you know he had a stock up, stock down report as well. So for stock up, he said Brandon Pilley made a strong opening argument to make the Dolphins 53-man roster, multiple pressures and at least 1 sack. He said Ramsey and Kendall Fuller gave an early taste of what was possible together. Each jumped routes on balls thrown by the Dolphins' backup quarterbacks. The entire defense was the better of the 2 units on Wednesday. He said Jalen Waddle continues to have an excellent 2024. He climbed the ladder to reel in a tough pass from Skyler and then hung onto a ball across the middle from White that funneled him into a collision with Jordan Poyer. In terms of stock down, he said, check this. This is how bad Hardison must have been. Listen to what he said. He said Hardison is getting the few reps he is because Tagovailoa is sitting out. But if he wants to remain with the team, he needs to get his act together. The Dolphins' offensive weapons struggled to get good work in Wednesday when Hardison was on the field. The Holland collision was Washington's most unfortunate moment, but things went from bad to worse when he dropped a pass shortly after. That's Malik Washington. The Dolphins will tinker with their offensive line for the next month, but it was a tough start for Jack Driscoll, who botched a quarterback exchange with Skylar Thompson. So that backup center situation looks like it's an absolute disaster right now. I don't know else how to frame it. Like this, and it leads back to me a couple, like the Hardison, with how bad Hardison is. You guys really don't think McDaniel's eventually going to get to his point where he's going to say, walk into that offense and say, okay, you've had your fun and games for the last couple of weeks. The pads are coming on, and I know what the expectation is. Get my guy done. Like, you don't see that happening.
I definitely have. Go ahead, Ballgame.
I'm sorry, Richmond. I think across the board, all that does is improve the chances of them getting this thing done a lot sooner, because with guys out there like Hardison throwing to your top guys, all that's kind of doing is basically taking away from the level of productivity that they can have. Because if the quarterback can't even get the ball to them, and you're struggling sometimes with Mike White and with Skylar Thompson to get the ball to these guys where they can make plays, that's going to frustrate the shit out of this offense, and it's just going to make things that much harder for Mike to hit his wickets in terms of what he has on his boxes to check off. So yeah, all of this type of stuff really plays into, saying what Mike said. This offense was built extremely around Tua. It's Tua's offense. Nobody can run it like Tua. So,
What do you think, Richmond?
I'm in total agreement with Ballgame. The timing of everything, as quick as Tua gets the ball out, he hits the guys in full stride. And like it's mentioned, I think Jalen Waddle had a collision, this and that. That's going to happen at times, but sometimes you get the ball at the right time, you can make a move and make that guy miss or something like that. And they've showed they have that ability. Last year, all the years when Tua's in there, it's a huge drop off when he's not in there. And definitely Mike knows that. And like Ballgame said, you want your ones working with ones, because when the season starts, who's going to be in there? And those guys need to get work with Tua. So especially when the pass, you can kind of get away with it a little bit with, when you're in shorts and hands and stuff like that. But to really get your time and stuff like that, you want your number one quarterback there. And I'm sure, Tyreek, all those guys, they want him out there throwing the ball to him too, because that's the way it's going to be on Sunday. So, I agree with that. And like you said, he's playing it right now, but eventually he's going to like, hey, whatever y'all got to do, let's get this deal done. So, I can go and do what I need to do. So, I believe that as well.
So Armando Salguero had an article today, and he basically said that, quote, not imminent unless something changes, a source texted him regarding the talks. Are you surprised that neither side has put a deadline on this? I mean, we get the sense that, him holding in is putting a little bit more of an urgency to the situation. But are you shocked that neither Athletes First or the Miami Dolphins have put any deadlines on the situation?
I'm shocked. I think I would be. I think the thing that would make them put a deadline on it is if the numbers were way far apart, or whatever the Dolphins were offering to. If it was really disrespectful, like man, we're not going. If y'all not going to do that, just forget it. We'll top down. So it kind of gives me confidence that the numbers are kind of in the ballpark. They're not as far apart as what they are. It's just what Dolphins are probably pushing for a few things, and Tua's camp is pushing for a few things. But if somebody was offering a deadline or something, to me, that's a signal that either the numbers ain't right, or somebody feels real disrespected, or vice versa. If Tua's camp was asking for astronomical numbers, they're like, man, we're not doing that. That's going to not only hurt it this year, but it's going to hurt us for future years. So I think they're close. I just think the good thing is you don't hear anything like that. If I heard a deadline or something, I think I would be a little bit more concerned that he might just say, okay, we'll shut it down. I'll play this year, and then I'll try to get out of here after that. But I think the thing is I haven't heard anything about a deadline. So to me, that's a positive.
Where are you at? Are you shocked there hasn't been a deadline play ball game, or do you agree with Richmond that's more positive than negative that it hasn't happened, because that shows that they aren't far apart on the deal?
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree with Richmond in regards to the fact that I think they both want to get this deal done. I think his representation, Tua has already stated he wants to be here. We know Mike wants him here. We know Greer wants him here. I think what it comes down to, if you look at a lot of the contracts that have been signed, either by wide receivers or any other players in the league right now, it all comes down to guaranteed monies. And I think that's probably the one thing that they're not quite in agreement with, because I think the Dolphins, obviously with Tua's injury history, they want to ensure that they're protected, and at the same time they want to make sure that the number makes sense, right? Obviously they have the stats to prove that, to know without a shadow of doubt that he deserves more than the guy that just got paid in Jacksonville, and more than the guy in San Diego, in addition to several others. So I don't think those are the things that they're barking over. I think it's just how much more they're going to want to guarantee on his contract. And from a business standpoint, that's not a bad thing to have a contract held up on, right? I think, the fact that they both love, he wants to be here, they want him here, that's all positive. And when there's nobody saying, okay, well, we need this from you by this date, otherwise we shut down negotiations. Since that hasn't happened, I think, like Richmond said, they are extremely close. Me personally, I feel like a deal might get done sometime here in the next, 4 or 5 days, right? Sometime before midweek next week, maybe at the latest. And then this all goes away because, I think that they're close, and they're actually kind of close in Green Bay too. So that guy is working double time trying to make sure that his clients are taken care of. In Green Bay sitting in the same space. They only got 8 real games out of Love. You really want to make him the highest paid? So they got to argue that point too. But Tua's proven that he deserves to be right there in the mix with some of the highest paid guys at the position. So, and the Dolphins, I don't think, are disputing that. It's just how much guaranteed money they really want to give him.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it's coming down to. But, this is, I know it's Armando Salguero, but this is now multiple people who have put it out that, nothing is imminent right now. Right. That's just where we're at. So, guys, another thing, just so everyone knows, there's just a quick update for everyone so they can see it. Here is week 1 against Jacksonville. Kevin Harlan is going to be calling the game. So he's got Hill. All right. So there you go. So week 1, we got the boys coming out there. So guys, final thoughts as we wrap up day 1 of practice.
I think the practice went. I'm sorry, Richmond. Go ahead.
You ain't gonna be sorry about. Go ahead.
I think practice went exactly as expected. I mean, I tell people all the time that, intricately defenses don't get complex until deeper into training camp and deeper in the season, right? You start vanilla, some of the calls that he might have made, they still get down terminology, but guys know what cover 3, cover 4, cover 2, cover 1, robber, all that stuff means. So it's easier for the defense, but, the offensive line needs to, develop continuity as soon as possible. Otherwise, Butch probably going to lose his shit again on him. And, at the end of the day, professionals, you shouldn't have to be told to come to work and get the job done. So I like the energy. I like the fact that we started, with the tone and expectations out the gate, and nobody, holding back from telling their guys specifically what they expect from them. If they don't get it, then I'm going to pull you, stand on the sideline with your helmet. I get somebody else in there to do the job. So yeah. I'm all about that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because one monkey don't stop no show. You feel me? Except for the quarterback, unfortunately. Everybody else, the other 52, do your job. Make sure you're doing it to the best of your ability, because somebody else can come replace you. So I like it, man. This is a lot different than some of the other camps. I think the first couple of years with Mike, there was that feel good, let them have all this stuff, but the expectations are here now, so you don't have no time to waste. So
and they're realer than ever.
Yeah. So I'm all about it.
Final thoughts, Richmond?
Yeah, I'm happy it's football season again. Next thing I'll be waiting for is the Monday Night Football song. And that, like I said, first day of practice, it's good to have everybody back. I really like the way you gave different viewpoints from the different reporters that was at practice. Some of it was similar, but other people had different takes on it. And then that way, you give people information that they can count and say, okay, this kind of sounds similar, but this is different. And then you take it from there. But the good thing is we got something to talk about. So first day of camp, I'm excited. Like Ballgame said, Calais, Agba, those guys, they veterans. They're gonna work themselves in the playing shape, stuff like that. I used to come in a little heavy myself, and then cut down because you feel better. I would always feel better if I came in a little heavy, drop some weight, and then I'll be like, oh man, I feel good. I'm ready to go. So not worried about that at all. But I'm just happy it's football season again. I don't know how to sum it up no better than that. And great again by us. So I'm happy to be a part of this team as well. So, and thank the fans for coming and listen to us. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it feels nice that it's back, man. Over 600 watching us right now between Twitter and YouTube. Appreciate all of you guys for coming through. I'll be back tomorrow with Fin Too Deep with Neil Driscoll. There's practice this weekend, so a lot of stuff coming your guys' way. Smash the like button on your way out. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. And as always, you already know what time it is. All day, every day. Fins up. And we will see y'all on the next one. Have a fantastic evening, everyone.